Good morning, YouTube. So this video's a little bit out of sequence compared to my other videos or my next like 3 videos because I'm a little behind, but I kind of wanted to make a short video because I did get a comment asking if I can make a video about Tweels, which is pretty much, if you don't know what Tweels are, it's pretty much just like airless tires. More like just like airless like rubber tires. So they are expensive, which I'll get to, compared to regular tires. This week has been hell. Pretty much this week is going to determine who's in it for the long haul, and who kind of like started this year, or someone that just started and they're like, this isn't for me. I'm already getting a few calls about their current lawn guy that they stopped. It's always the same thing. They're like, hey, my lawn guy stopped showing up. Are you still taking on clients? So for new clients, especially during this time, I quote a lot higher because most likely they're not going to keep me during winter. They're not going to want that monthly service, or they'll drop me as soon as the grass starts to slow down, or as soon as it starts to go dormant, they're going to drop me. So if you want it to be a win-win situation, in my opinion, if I want it to be a win-win situation, I'll take care of your property, but I'm going to quote you a lot higher, probably like a good, like, $15-$20 more than what I normally do, just because how miserable it is. So that's my little feedback in that, or my advice. If I was completely booked, I'd just be like, nope, you called too late. You could have called from the beginning of the spring. Or maybe, sometimes they lie. Sometimes they're the ones that are servicing their own property, and they're like, I can't keep doing this. I'd rather just pay someone for a couple months, and when it starts to cool down, I'll take over. So if I was fully booked, I'd be like, nope. But since I'm not, again, win-win situation. I'll go over a few things that I'm doing to stay hydrated. So I need my coffee in the morning. Electrolytes, you definitely need to be drinking some electrolytes. So I think I got this from Amazon, but there's a few other ones that they sell. I am going to go get breakfast. I ran out of like my breakfast sandwiches, so I'm gonna just stop by and get something quick. It's not ideal, but when it heat index hits over 100, you need something in your system. So Gatorades, this jug of water is literally just to throw over our heads or our faces and want it to cool down. I have Gatorades. If we need a little caffeine boost, Dr. Pepper's. And I'm actually glad I opened it, because I need to get some waters. So what I normally do is you'll see, I normally put like 10 to 12 bottles of water in a bag. I throw it in the freezer. They stay frozen, and I use that as ice. That way I'm not buying ice constantly. And then when the ice melts, you pretty much just drink water, but you definitely need waters. Normally I'll bring lunch. I'll say about like 85% of the time I'm bringing us lunch. Normally my wife will cook, she'll cook extra. Whatever we're having for dinner, she'll cook a little bit extra for Jacob and I the next day. And then if she doesn't, or if we order like takeout, then me and Jacob will stop by the gas station. It's not ideal because, it's just pizza, hot dogs, and stuff like that. So especially during this heat, you should somewhat stay away from that. Chicken and rice, protein, eggs, avocado, fruits, all that is what your body needs. And then before I go to sleep, I'll probably take like 3 or 4. I'll drink like 3 or 4 cups of water with electrolytes so that I'm just staying hydrated. Because even yesterday, after like one job, both of ours, like our shirts, our pants, they were just soaked like crazy. And it's only going to get worse. It's just the beginning. So this is just like the first week of summer, but let's get it. So only in Georgia will the heat index hits like 108. And then that same day and in the night, it rains. So Luckily, it's been pretty, I mean, it's been hot where it just have, you know, everything already evaporated and whatnot. So pretty much this week, I've already spent a good chunk of money. So my AC went out again. I had to spend another $150, took it back to my mechanic. He thinks he fixed it, but it seems like it's a very small leak that he's having a hard time finding it. So he said pretty much if it goes out again, then there's only one other component, which is the condenser that he has to switch. So I just want this to be fixed, you know. Part of me wish I should have just taken it to a actual car shop, which I did, but the quote was like $1,200 or something like that. And then so far I spent like $600 with him. But it's gonna suck if it happens again. And then if I'm just like, I'm just gonna take it to the car to a car shop and pretty much double pay. But I need that AC. I'm so glad, because last week we went like 3 weeks without AC. But luckily it was still in like the low 80s to mid 80s, so it wasn't too bad. And then this week everything hit over 100. But we did get like somewhat of a storm. I don't know if you can see, there's just like somewhat a good bit of debris on the road and whatnot. So I spent money on the car. I've got a oil change, you know, regular maintenance. I spent like $240 or something like that on that. I did get a new hedge trimmer. I believe it's the HS56C. That thing is a monster. I'll put pictures of some shrubbery jobs that we did. Definitely recommend it. I was using the Regualr one for like the past 2-3 years, and probably 3 years, and you know, it was time to upgrade it. You know, that Regualr served this purpose. I'm still going to run it if we get like a big job and we're both having to trim shrubs. You know, he can use the battery one and then I can use the gas one. But that hedge trimmer, like, I can't even explain it. I felt, and you can see the difference like instantly. It was expensive. It was like $500, so I got that. I also bought a combi hedge trimmer attachment that was like $250, so I'm working on that. I'm trying to do something that I saw online, but I'll make a video if I'm able to make it work. Costs, you know, you're going to have so many costs. You know, it's like, oh, you're getting a little bit, it's like one step forward, 2 step back, you know, kind of situation where like you're making a little bit of money, you're catching up, and then bam, like all these things hit you, or they end up hitting you at the same time. And you know, it's just how it is, you know. I did sell the 48 like you guys saw in my last video, so right now I'm running the 52. One of those bolts seized up, so on one of the blades, so I can't change one of those blades. So right now I'm only changing out 2 of those blades, and that third blade I'm just letting it run for now, until I'm able to take it to my dealership. But even if they keep it for like a couple days, then I'll be stuck with the 36. And it's like, do I really want to be out here? You know, do I really want to spend an extra like 15-20 minutes on each yard because we're using a smaller mower? Or do I just run it, you know, and when it cools down, you know, take it to the mechanic shop or to my dealer shop, and hopefully they can fix it. I did take it to a local tire shop, and they were not able to take it out. So I was like, it's all right. You know, I was like, I'll take it to my dealer. And it sucks because I did sell the 48, like I said. So normally that would be my backup, which wouldn't slow us down this much. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, just save up. When you're making a little bit of money, you got to save up, reinvest back into your business. It sucks. But like when you're out here in this heat, you know, especially during this time, and you're, you know, things are breaking up or things are breaking and you're having to spend more time out here, like that's what drives a lot of us like overboard, and we're like, screw this, F this, like I'm not gonna do this, I'm gonna go home, I'm done, right? And you want to buy something, but you spent it on something else where you could have just reinvested back into your business. But you know, Jacob ended up we ended up switching up mowers because Jacob needed the smaller one for the back gate. So the main concern, I think his main concern was with the Tweels, which is this guy again. Is that he's asking if it leaves tire marks. I mean, it just depends on the properties. I have a few properties where even if I step on it, because they have such poor drainage issues, if I step on it, I'm leaving like footprint marks. So of course, like any mower, regarding whatever tires you're running, it's gonna leave tire marks. So it's really just about knowing your properties, which properties can you get away with, opposed to the other one. And it's also all about how you turn. It's kind of hard for me to explain it, but when you're turning, especially on these heavy machinery, all these mowers weigh close to 1,000, if not a little bit over. So it's really about how you turn. You have to like make sure that both tires are constantly moving when you're turning, because if you're kind of like sliding or kind of dragging one tire, which does kind of like this movement, you're going to tear up and pick up the grass by doing that. So you constantly want both tires to be moving. As I was saying, I do get a good bit of questions regarding the Tweels. One, they are expensive. So I think it was like close to $1,800, maybe $1,600 to $1,800 for both of them. So it's expensive. But what I did is when I bought this mower new from the dealer, they asked me like, hey, if you trade in your new tires, they'll give me like $500 off, or like a rebate of $500, which will go towards the Tweels. And I just told them yes, because I don't know if you guys, I'm sure some of you guys already know kind of how I think. I'm all about long term, like what will make my life easier out here, especially now during summer. The last thing you want to do, and you got to like, even if you're starting now, and if you have a passion for this, if you can withstand the heat and everything that comes with that, you can push yourself mentally and physically, and you want to make a career out of this. Think about down the road, 3-4 years from now. Do you really want to be spending, do you really want to be spending like an extra 20-30 minutes fixing a tire? Especially it normally happens at the end of the day. You're going to get a flat and you need to fix it to finish that property, or you're halfway through your route and it's your 3rd or 4th day of you mowing, like 10 to 15 yards each day. It's very frustrating when it happens. So I rather just not ever have to deal with that when it comes to this mower. Now my other two, the 48 didn't have Tweels, but it did get like a flat like twice. The 36 has yet still to get a flat. But I know when it comes, it's just like a hassle. You're like, oh, I got to do this now. And it doesn't take that long. It probably takes like 20-30 minutes once you find the hole and whatnot. But again, it's like 20-30 minutes of you already being out here in this heat. Your body's exhausted. Those 20-30 minutes can eventually break you. And you're like, I should have just gotten the Tweels. So those are my 2 cents. I think they're worth it. They're great on hills. As far as leaving tire marks, as long as you're turning and your yards, they won't tear up your yard. Like even yesterday, like we got a good bit of rain last night, and Jacob mowed this one with the 52, no tire marks. Same thing with the other one. The one I'm working on is a little bit more patchy, but no tire marks, because it has like good drainage issues, or it doesn't have any drainage issues and whatnot, and it's mainly dirt, but it is what it is. Convenience, that's what you're paying for. That's why you're paying those $1,600 to $1,800 for the convenience that you will never have to worry about either the level on your deck, because with the Airless, with the air tires or regular tires, you constantly have to check the PSI, which again, it's not a big deal. But it's just like a couple extra steps that you need, that you will save yourself by just switching over to Tweels. And they'll last. I've had it for like 3 years, and I just feel like in those 3 years, I definitely got my money's worth, because you'll also go over like certain terrains where if you would run like a regular tire, you'll get a flat instantly. With this one, like, I can run it through retention ponds, or like if it's like a forest, I can do through it. Obviously, quote a lot higher for these jobs, because you're beating up your mowers, and then pretty much whatever blades you have, say goodbye to them, because they're gonna get chewed up and whatnot. But what I'm trying to say is, like, you can do those jobs with a regular mower, opposed to like renting brush cutter or whatever. Again, it depends, you know, how overgrown it is. If it's super overgrown, then don't run your mowers. But, you know, I think the benefits, there's more benefits than cons when it comes to switching over to Tweels, or getting Tweels. And for me, it's a no-brainer. So again, it is expensive. I mean, a lot of times you can finance it with like a 0% interest or 2% interest. It just makes sense to do it and do payments on it, because I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that, you know, their mowers have over 2,000 hours or 1,000 hours. Mine's at like 5, close to 600. So I've had those tires for like 600 hours, and I can only imagine how many hours it has saved me within those 600 hours of me using it. But anyways, like I said, this is a small little video. Like always, like, subscribe. I appreciate y'all. Oh, I almost forgot. I did get another comment, or he pretty much asked 2 questions. He said, what tarps do I use? Because he had asked me, what do I do when it rains and my equipment gets wet? Whew. So pretty much when you buy these commercial equipment, they're kind of like somewhat waterproof. Like, it doesn't mean like drain them with water, but you know, if it rains and they get wet, theoretically they should be fine. But I bought these tarps from Home Depot. They were like 40-50 bucks. So I just pop them over the mowers and tie them down so that the mowers don't get wet. As far as the trimmers, I bought these guys from Amazon. Let's see, Dry Wraps, and pretty much their trimmer and edger covers, so it protects them. As far as the backpack blowers, they just get wet. I mean, we've gotten rained out so many times, and then my equipment never gives me any issues turning them on. Now, it doesn't mean that I just let them get soaked. So if I have the time, and if you know, if it's not pouring just yet, then I'll cover it. Sometimes I just don't cover it and they get rained on. But again, that's one of the cons, I guess, about running an open trailer. But the benefit is, you know, I'm able to do debris removal, cleanup jobs. My equipment doesn't struggle to turn on, opposed to like if you have an enclosed trailer. Some of the, you know, because when you have an enclosed trailer, it's definitely hotter in there than it is out here, because there's no air circulation. So a lot of the times, you know, some of these mowers won't turn on, or your weed whacker or edger or backpack blower, just because of how hot it is. Over here, I haven't had any issues because it's slightly cooler. But there you go. So this is Future Manny. I did get another comment that I forgot to answer. He's asking, what trimmers do I use and what do I use to record my videos? So I bought the iPhone 16 specifically just to be able to record, because it has a higher quality. I don't know all the logistics, or you know, I'm not a tech guy, but I just did a little bit of research, and I just didn't want to be carrying like a GoPro and all these extra batteries and yada yada yada. You know, just take out my phone, record, and edit it, because editing already takes me like a good hour, sometimes a little bit longer. So iPhone 16 Pro Max. As far as the trimmers, I use the SRM 2620T from Echo. I got these guys, you can see the top one. So I got both of these at the beginning. No, sorry. About like 2 months ago. I've been running them for 2 months. I used to be all steel because that's the only local dealer that's around me. I had to drive about like an hour and a half to pick up these 2 trimmers. But I've had a few other buddies that have been in the game a lot longer, and every single one of them recommended these guys. They work great, 2 months with no issues. They always turn on. The only thing I really don't like is the gas tank. It is so small with the Steel 111 RX, which I don't recommend because it kept breaking down. But the gas tank on that trimmer was significantly bigger. I could feel the difference. Like, I can go like 6, maybe 7 yards without having to refill or adding fuel to it. With these guys, it looks like every 2, maybe 3, and that's a big maybe 3 properties I have to add fuel. So that's my only complaint, but you know, it doesn't take that long. Normally it's kind of like, you know, just check it before you start a property. Even if you're halfway, you might be able to finish the property, but if it's a decent sized property, it's gonna turn off on you midway. But anyways,